Hello, this is Mark Tucker.
And this is Alan Furstenberg. Welcome to Two Voice Devs.
To Voice Devs, Alan, welcome.
Welcome, Mark. It's been quite a week. You have some interesting news.
Yes, I did receive a letter, an official Alexa email stationery, I guess.
That's
Um,
and I should say we usually love getting email from our viewers and listeners with what you're doing. This doesn't sound as good as an email though.
yeah, so we'll talk about what it means, but it's from the Alexa developer marketing uh, department, and the title is Alexa Developer Rewards Program. So it says, Dear Mark, after careful consideration and evaluation, we've decided to sunset the Alexa Developer Rewards or ADR program. As a
Mhm.
result, after June 30th, 2024, just a few months away, you will no longer be able to earn rewards under ADR. Developers like you have and will play a critical role in the success of Alexa, and we appreciate your continued engagement. If you have any questions regarding the ADR program or your rewards payments, please contact us here. There's a link. So the ending of the Alexa developer rewards program. Um,
So maybe let's start by saying what was ADR? Or what
well,
was
it's
or what was
yeah.
the history of ADR?
So ADR started. I don't know if it had started by the time that I had started doing Alexa development. Early on with Alexa development, you got things like, oh, if you developed a skill, you would get a T-shirt, and there were special Alexa T-shirts, or you would get a free Echo Dot, or things like that. So I think that was kind of the early incarnation of trying to incentivize developers to start developing for this brand new platform. Because at the time, I think there were only 4,000 skills in the skills store, and there's over 100,000 skills today. So I think they decided that they needed to do something besides sending off T-shirts all over the world. Um, and so I don't know if that was exactly when it started, but about that time, the Alexa Developer Rewards Program happened. And so the idea behind the Alexa Developer Rewards Program was to incentivize developers who created skills that got good engagement. So
Okay.
the better your skill was, or at least in a category that got high usage, then um, I think the skills would be ranked, and then you would get um, some money based off of how well it did. So if your skill did really gangbusters, you would earn a lot of money. And if it kind of at some point in time, you get less and less and less until it just fell off completely. So I'm not sure what the top percentage of skills were, what the cutoff was. There was all that stuff was not something that Amazon talked about, but there were a few high profile people that made earnings. Like the rewards program website is still available, so you can look at it today. And there's some case studies at the bottom. Like one developer created 30 skills and over a 6 month time period earned $25,000. So
Not bad.
some serious money, right? That was
Yeah.
and the, this was kind of happening at the same time as in-skill purchasing was new, or and there were some limitations to it. And so the idea behind the rewards program was, let's reward developers and let's keep them excited about creating skills and moving on. So I started doing Lexus development stuff in 2016. So this program's been around for quite a long time. They've never quite, got rid of it completely until now.
So
And yeah, go ahead.
so how much did you make?
That's a good question. So I did look back over that today because I couldn't remember. This wasn't like super exciting amounts, but I did receive something at the end of towards the end of last year, November. Did got some rewards back in 2020 and a little before that. So I think completely total, I might have earned close to $1,000, which is $1,000 more than I would have had without.
Yeah.
There was something interesting actually because there was a whole big chunk of time where I had received rewards, but then I stopped receiving rewards, and then November came. Actually, the skill that I got engagement for rewards for in November was for my show widgets skill, which the skill itself doesn't do anything. It just is a delivery mechanism so that you can install widgets, things like the Magic 8 Ball and word clocks, and there was a Christmas actually Christmas countdown, something separate actually. So
So so the
just
so the widgets were impressive enough that and there were few enough of them that people started paying attention to it.
I guess I don't know enough happened that I earned a little bit of money there. But so I've been involved in the program, but it hasn't been something that's changed my life. But it's exciting, especially in the early days where you're like, hey, my skill made the cut. So that's kind of the program, and that's the only thing that's been announced that's going to go away. But we'll talk about a few other programs that maybe or maybe not will go away. Who knows? We'll have to see what transpires over the next year.
From what I remember, and my memory is notoriously bad. From what I remember back in at Alexa Live 2022 or so, I feel like they were talking about phasing out the rewards program back then. But kind of at the same time, it was going to be replaced with you'd be getting more advertising credits and you can, so it was kind of like they were shifting from cold hard cash to other pseudo monetary incentives that you would be expected to sink back into your skill.
Yes.
Is that part of this? Is there something else? Is that still going on? What? Because I don't remember hearing anything more about this.
Yeah. So that program is called the Skill Developer Accelerator Program.
Okay.
Is my understanding. And what they talked about there is at that same time, and we had a whole episode where we talked about the Alexa Live, and we talked about this SDAP program as well as something called Skill Coach. So they introduced Skill Coach, which was the ability for some behind the scenes analysis of your skill with some recommendations of like, hey, you could implement in skill purchasing if you hadn't, or you could implement this other thing, or so it gave you some specific tasks that you could do. Plus, it also gave your skill a score between 0 and 5. And the idea was that you would want to be up in that 4 or 5 quality of skill, and if you were, then there would be some special benefits for that. Now, that was announced, and Skill Coach was announced and is available. I could go into my skills today and see what my skill coach score is,
Uh-huh.
and I could see recommendations,
Uh-huh.
but I have yet to see any of those other like benefits of the program. Um,
Okay.
so um, so I'm not sure exactly where that's going. Where that's going. Now you had mentioned ad dollars. Now, there was some talk about being able to do advertising on Echo Show devices, so the screen displays, the smart displays,
Hmm.
where a skill would show up as because there's a number of things that kind of cycle through your Echo Show home screen. It could be a news item, it could be the weather, it could be a number of different things, and I've seen actually over the last towards the end of last year, beginning of this year, not so much recently. I haven't really noticed it, but all of a sudden there would be one that showed up that would be some graphic that had to deal with some skill in the skill store, and then you could click on a button, and that would be a tap to go ahead and launch that skill, and then you could interact with the skill. So I know that there was at least some sort of a private beta for that because I was able to see the skills on the device. But I haven't seen any announcement publicly that, hey, this is available to all developers. So I don't know if that was in conjunction with the ad dollars that you had remembered from that Alexa Live, because I'm assuming that you would pay for um, clicks, or I don't know,
Right.
apps or something. Somehow you would pay for you'd put money, a certain amount of money towards ads, and then that would influence when or how often your ad showed up on the device. And I could see where if you had, like, high quality skill and they wanted to incentivize you to continue to do that, or that celebrate that you had accomplished that they might give you some free credits towards that. But I haven't heard anything or seen anything
Okay.
about
Okay.
that. So
So I was somewhat misremembering that.
well, but that's, it's been 2 years, so I don't know. And some things have changed, right? At Amazon, there's been a number of cancellation of programs and cutbacks and layoffs and things. So I don't know if that program was a casualty of that, or if they just haven't quite got to that point. So I'm not sure what's happening with the SDAP program. Um, Something else that was mentioned in the SDAP program, um, and we'll provide a link to it, was increased revenue sharing. So the split used to be when you did an in-skill purchase,
Right.
um, the
Ah,
split
right.
was
Okay.
the split was developer got 70% and Amazon got 30%. So then they changed that to an 80-20 split. So the developer got more. And then there was, at least through the end of that 2020 year, they were talking about moving that up to a 90-10 split. As far as I know that happened, I don't know if, I don't know what the current percentage is. They don't actually tell you what percentage you got of an in-skill purchase. They tell you what the amount was, and I guess you could probably figure it out. But um, so I think the in-skill purchasing stuff is still happening, um, and we'll talk a little bit about ISP here in a second. But the last program I wanted to talk about was AWS credits. One of the easiest ways to deploy an Alexa skill is via AWS, with a Lambda function, and in order to keep user information for each of the users, so that as between sessions that you could keep scores or informations of things that have visited or counters or whatever. Then I use DynamoDB to
Hmm.
to do that. And so when I first started, they were awarding uh, AWS credits to, not sure like how wide that audience was. But I used to get $100 a month credit for any of my AWS expenses, which
That's not bad.
really in the end is I could do a lot of work. I don't think I ever went above the $100 a month. So in essence, I was getting free AWS for doing because the biggest chunk, Lambda is very, very inexpensive, and especially if not a lot of people use your skill, then it's pretty cheap. And I guess it gets more expensive if you were like Sleep Sounds or Jeopardy or Question of the Day or something like that. I'm sure that they had a lot more um, cost on their Lambda, but the bigger cost typically is the DynamoDB, which in some months it could be $20 a month. So at some point in time, they cut that back to $50 a month for AWS credits, and that's where it currently is. So this
So
last
AWS credits are still in
so
place.
right now AWS credits are still active now. So they haven't said anything about getting rid of the SDAP program, and they haven't said anything right now about getting rid of the AWS credits program. Um, but that could happen. It's just, I don't know if this is a signal towards getting rid of those programs. I don't know. The letter did indicate something along the lines of, you play a critical role in our success and appreciate your continued engagement. I don't know if that's just if that's where it is, or they didn't really hint at,
I,
and there'll be something replacing this, or
this
don't
is
worry,
kind
we'll take care of you in the future.
right.
But
This is kind of, we appreciate it, but we don't appreciate it that much. It's
yeah,
kind of, if you appreciate it, you know, how do you show your appreciation? I guess kind of the follow-up question is, okay, now that this is gone, and now what
Yeah,
incentives do I have to build a skill? And kind of, let's be fair, let's, if we look at the web, what incentives do I have to build a website? What incentives did I ever have to build a website?
true.
Especially when there was nobody who ever paid out a rewards program for visiting my website. You were
Right.
usually penalized for it because you had higher costs. What are the incentives for building an Android or an iPhone app? Now that this incentive is gone, why would I make a skill? I guess there are dozens of developers asking this question today.
Yes, there are, and I've had quite a few conversation with a number of people on LinkedIn. When I posted this, um, shortly after I received the letter. So there are people that are asking the question. The two questions that are asked, I think, that are being asked are, does that mean skills are going away, like um,
Like
Google
actions were.
Actions went away, right? So our third party or custom developer created skills going away. No announcement that they're going away. Um, and they're like, you're going to play a critical role in Alexa going forward. So they haven't announced that skills are going away. Um, so don't want to confuse that. Some people immediately thought, oh no, I'm sorry. And I'm like, well, it's not, it's bad ish, it's just something is being taken away, and that's sad. But the other part that's still available is in skill purchasing. You
Okay.
can do paid skills, so you can say, hey, to use this skill, it's $5, and you pay once and it's yours. Or you can do in skill purchasing, which would be subscriptions, is probably the thing that would make the most sense. If you wanted to have continual um, income for people using your skill. There's also entitlements, which would be things that you could pay for, like you could buy additional, unlock a new level,
Unlock a
or
level, unlock a new puzzle. Yeah.
yeah, things like that. So
And
so
we've covered all of these in the past.
yes, so there's nothing new that's coming out with as far as in skill purchasing. That's the same, and from people I've talked with, that's the story they're sharing with developers, is like, in skill purchasing isn't going away yet, and well, they didn't say yet. They just say, there is still in skill purchasing, and that would be the way that you would monetize.
Okay,
So
that makes sense.
yeah, so right now it still makes sense for the skills that I have, which get low to moderate usage depending on what it is. I still like, in fact, I'm even considering deploying something new, because I kind of like the idea of it, and it's been a while since I've created something new. So right now I still have skills in the skill store. I'm even thinking of creating new things, and some stuff's under development. So I'm not giving up on Alexa as far as creating skills. I am definitely considering how to monetize things within skill purchasing. Now, at the point where AWS credits goes away in the future, if that happens, then I have to start thinking seriously of, do I make enough within skill purchasing to at least pay for the cost of hosting this in AWS? And if it doesn't, I might just have to shut some things down.
Yeah.
Um, because yeah, it's fun to have something, and let people interact with it, and kind of share your creative vision and stuff with others. The same type of thing with a website. If you created a website and you're like, I'm paying for this custom domain name and the hosting service for the website, and does it get enough usage, or do I feel like it's enough of a badge of honor or whatever to have something there that I can share with other people, then maybe I elect to pay for that money out of my pocket, and not necessarily worry about making money on it.
Well,
You know,
to be sure, there are plenty of reasons to have a skill, to have a website, to
yeah,
have an app, to do all of these other things. Money isn't the only one, but it does end up being a consideration when you say,
Yeah,
I've got to run this somewhere
yeah,
and somehow.
yeah. And if it's going to be more challenging, because I think the success of a number of companies that built Alexa skills, at least early on, was was built on the Alexa Developer Rewards program. That was what allowed them to have that be their full-time job or to
Uh-huh.
be their lucrative side hustle. Um, and that's going away. And I don't, you know, there are a number of skills that have out of the roof engagement. Um, I'm thinking along the lines of sleep sound type skills. I'm thinking about like Jeopardy, question of the day. There's a number of ones that I think get really high usage and probably do okay with subscription based in skill purchasing, but there's a whole group that don't. And so I think people are making decisions. I even talked with a developer today who's like, well, I'm going to this particular feature is something I like, but it's going to cost me more money than I can afford. So I'm going to have to actually close down this skill or remove some of the features of it so that um, so that I can afford to keep hosting it. So that's kind of the reality of
Yeah.
where things are.
Yeah. I mean, but those are the kinds of decisions that, not so much as developers, but, as developers who are running something that we need to make is,
Yeah,
what's the cost benefit here? If I'm not getting the benefit, I can't justify the cost.
yeah, I understand that, and I can see it from the perspective of Amazon as well. It's like, hey, we've got this program. It was meant to kind of kickstart things, and now we're this many years into it. Does this make sense to keep doing that? Um, so I do understand that side of things. I don't think like Amazon's hurting from money for the amount that they spend on the developer rewards program. I think that's negligible money for what they make, but I think they're
Well, but no, no, well, but I think it does raise an interesting question
yeah,
of how much are they making
yeah,
from Alexa?
yeah,
I mean, the rewards program was paid for by selling Alexa devices, right? I mean, the
I,
money's got to come from somewhere.
yeah, the money's got to come from somewhere. Yeah, that's true.
So, if it wasn't coming from selling Alexa devices, then it was covered by the parent company.
Yeah,
And, so at some point, somebody had to be asking, are we selling enough devices to justify this rewards program?
yeah, and there were lots of other forces at play that don't exist now. For example, um, it was a race there for like it was like the space race there for a while. Like, oh, Google's coming out with something now. Oh, we have so many skills in our skill store. Oh, they have so many actions. Oh, we just released it, or like, oh, they just released in these three countries. Oh, we're going to release in this country
Right.
next. It was a and so
That competition is a healthy competition.
yeah, and they were like, oh, and we've sold. Well, they never really told us how many exactly devices they've sold. But I think there was a time where like it was newer, and people were like, hey, I want one of these devices. I want two or three of these devices. Whereas I don't know, there's probably some people that are still buying new devices that didn't ever have one before. Whereas now it's more like, oh, this device is older and I want to replace it with a new one or something. So I don't. I think there was a time when it was really worth Amazon's dollars to get as many devices in homes as possible and out kind of
Mm-hmm.
distribution so that they had those devices. Now exactly how are they going to use those and how are they going to monetize that going forward? That's a good question. And we can kind of see some of that with some of um, the Alexa for what used to be Alexa for business, but is now like Alexa for hospitality or Alexa for healthcare, like
Mm-hmm.
care centers, or where they have these devices in these locations, hospital rooms or care centers or rental properties or whatever, and the owners buy the devices plus pay a monthly subscription fee for having those devices be able to run specific skills on them. So, so that's kind of a program that they've built that has monetization built into it for them.
Yes.
And so, maybe they are putting more emphasis on those types of programs and just saying, if it doesn't make money or it doesn't make enough money, then we're going to put our dollars someplace else.
Yeah. So I'd love to hear, this is a sad moment. I'd love to hear what folks are thinking and what you're thinking about monetizing your skills going forward, or what your plans in general are for skills
Yeah.
going forward. As always, find us on social media, leave a comment below. Um, and it's the sort of thing that I suspect we will be talking about some more on Two Voice Devs.
Two voice devs. Take care, Alan.
Take care, Mark. Have a great week.
You too.